much for sharing a wonderful speech tonight on the compelling reasons behind movement. Don was completing a speech from an advanced manual called Speeches by Management, and the project's titled Communicating Change. And most of the goals in the project are about how do you incentivize this change? How do you prove and cause and define, first off, the scope of the change, and then where are the incentives to get people involved? Don, you did a phenomenal job with the goals of the speech. For the evaluation tonight, I'd like to focus on three areas: organization, gestures, and gestures. So first and foremost, you did a phenomenal job organizing your speech. Right out of the gate, you gave us what in the education world we like to call the WIFM, the what's in it for me. You started with that great compelling question that I'm sure had us all thinking, do you ever worry about your gestures dominating your speech? And I kind of paraphrased the last bit there, but it was a really interesting question, because I think some of us, certainly I do, think about that and worry about that. Then you quoted the Toastmasters founder, Ralph Smedley. Ralph, thank you. Ralph Smedley, with this great quote that really defined what is our goal in movement. We want to move to be compelling, but we don't want to move to be distracting. And you then followed up with the challenge of wanting this nuanced movement that would add and not detract from our speech. So right out of the gate, you gave us that very compelling introduction. And then you told us what you were going to tell us. You told us, and then you told us one more time, right? And so Don focused on three things: less is more, underscoring support, and intentionality. I loved that you demonstrated that throughout your speech as well. And that's one place where I'd love to give you a little bit, it's a little nitpicky, I recognize that, but something I'd like to point out, someplace I think you have some room for improvement. I'm doing it now. You did a little bit through the speech. I kind of call this like the magic orb, where we wind up having kind of these close-in gestures, and there's maybe a little variation, but we kind of keep our hands here. I do it, and I think it's something that some speakers, and I think you could kind of put the hands down. That having been said, you then did use several gestures that illustrated your point. You kind of talked about cycle, you did some enumerating, you talked about movement, but one thing you did really well was you showed us the intentional movement that we want to use in our speech. You not only showed it, but then you reviewed it. And I thought that was really what brought this whole speech home. Lord knows I'm a bit of a wanderer here up front and in front of the podium, so I like the fact that not only did you talk about it, but then you actually cycled this back through your speech and made clear when you moved and why you moved. So thank you, Don, for sharing a wonderful